Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Groover. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Good night, and welcome to another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason Mefford.
What are you doing? Is that Australian? Is that Cockney?
It's like I was trying to do a little of both. Anyway, there we go.
And I'm Kathy Groover,
Yes,
your co-host. And I'm not even gonna. I could do so many different accents right now. But
I know. Well, and you're actually the actor.
The actor who
I'm
did
not. I'm just. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway,
yeah.
We thought we'd start off a little different today, just to hopefully have people laugh. Either that, or you're going to be like, well, "Who are these weird people?" But if you,
I hope if this is your first time listening, it's not always like this. It's been like this, but it's not always like this. No. So anyway, occasionally we've been relying on small prompts from a couple different sources. One of which is the I Am app, which every 2 hours it pops up on my phone with a beautiful background, and you get to pick that, and it changes affirmations, and I have it set on inspiring questions, and that's been kind of fun because Jason and I have used several of these as prompts for shows. So the prompt right now is, how can I better appreciate small joys and everyday miracles? And I like this one, and I think it's so key because, you know, we're looking for these big things, these big events, the big vacation, the big promotion, and so often we go through our day kind of asleep with our eyes closed, not noticing the little things around us, not noticing those little moments of perfection. And they're everywhere if you look for them. And I was telling Jason before we got on the air, I love my birds. For those of you, you know, I'm
Snow White,
and birds sit on my hand, and I got bit by a squirrel, which is a whole other thing. But we now have a chipmunk in our yard. Oh, he's the cutest thing. He's like this big with his little. So we've named him. We name everything because we're only children. We anthropomorphize everything in our environment. I named him Zippy the Chippy, because he just his little tail's twitching and it drives the cat crazy. He's like, I want to play with it or eat it, I think. But so I will literally stand there for 5 minutes just going, just watching this chipmunk zip around the yard, and it brings me such joy. And is there other stuff that, to go back to a previous episode, is there other stuff I should be doing? Yeah, probably. And why not give myself time to be present in this moment and experience something that brings me such great joy? We're surrounded by things that are so heavy and so stressful. And if we can find those little moments of perfection, those little miracles in everyday life, it just enhances our lives so much. It makes us kinder. It releases feel-good chemicals in our brain, better communication, better leadership. Why would we not want that from something that's pretty much free?
Yeah, and it's, you know, again, it's not like you're sitting there for 2 hours watching the chipmunk, right? And ignoring your relationship, ignoring your business, right? Because that would be different.
Yeah.
But it is, I think, you know, and for me, a lot of it is just about the awareness. Because again, you know, most of the time we tend to focus on or identify the things at a 3-to-1 ratio that are negative or risks than we do the things that are actually good that are going on. And so if we're not careful, at the end of the day, you know, we're only remembering that the 2 or 3 bad things that happened to us during the day when there were probably 100 good things that happened, right? And so the more we can place awareness on that and be in the present moment. And, you know, again, we even had it at the beginning of this episode when Jason tried to do an accent that I end up, whenever I try to do an accent, I end up doing like 5 different accents in one sentence. And so it doesn't
Cockney, Boston, New England,
I know,
Australia.
You know, whatever, right? And I end up going back to Irish or something all the time. But that was a moment, right, where I was laughing, Kathy was laughing, hopefully you were laughing. That's a small thing, right? But maybe for some of the people that are listening, maybe that's the only time you laugh today. I don't know. You know, and if it is, maybe we can laugh a little bit more. But I think, you know, for me, I've been working too on noticing these small joys, the miracles that are actually happening, because when we start to place more attention on it, we realize these things are happening much more frequently than we realized.
Yeah.
And so for me, one of the things that's been helping me is just to express gratitude each time that something happens, right? So as an
Mm.
example, if Zippy comes out, again, you sit there for 5 minutes watching Zippy, and it's like, oh, thank you, Zippy, right? And I do the same thing with birds at my house because I set it on my porch and I have hummingbird feeders and I have
Mm.
I have the the bird seed and everything. And so some days, there's more birds than others. And today, when I was taking the dog out for a walk, there was a cardinal that
Oh,
was sitting there making a beautiful, beautiful sound, right? And so for I don't know, 30 seconds, he just sat there and was chirping away, making a beautiful sound. And I just sat and listened to him and thought to myself, thank you, Cardinal, for coming and singing this morning. Um, and so for me, I know just trying to place the awareness on it and expressing gratitude when those little things happen,
yeah.
I think makes it easier for me to place more of my awareness and attention on those things, right? And just by acknowledging it, it's one step further towards being able to see them all the time in our lives.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, this comes with presence, right? And that's slowing down and allowing space for that because we're all looking at the same planet. We're all walking on this same earth, looking at pretty much the same things. And it takes a special eye and a special bit of presence to stop and notice those things. And you and I are talking about nature, right? It's easy to get lost in nature. But what if you're stuck at your desk all day? It's also easy to get lost in things around you. Like I'm looking right now, I have a pushpin board next to me, and I have like an oversized, like comically large pushpin, but it's clear red acrylic. And the way my ring light is hitting it, there's like these almost like little sparks that are coming out of it because the way the light is glinting on it. And as I move, like the light changes and I can see, oh, that's a really cool red because it's radiating. It's like you can get lost in anything as a meditation. And is the way the light hitting that pushpin perfection? Sure, it is. It's what it is. And if you just pause, people, we're so bad at pausing, so many of us. If we just pause for a moment and notice these things around us, nature is a great way to do it. And if you're not around nature, you can't get to nature right now, you can look at anything around your environment and find perfection in that. How did they create this? This is perfection. It's a pain in the ass sometimes, but it's like just the to acknowledge the miracle of that technology. When you and I were kids, nobody said, "Oh, hey, grab your phone and take a picture." From the car. We're like, "How do you have a phone in your like that?" Those sentences didn't even exist 30 years ago. Grab the phone and take a picture. What the hell are you talking about? We're in the car, or ask Google it. I mean, we didn't have those things,
Mm-mm,
and I
mm.
do sometimes get lost in the sort of mind blowingness of the technology and the things that we have around us. I still don't know how lights work. I push a button, something turns on. I don't know how that works, and I'm happy it does. But it's
Well,
you
the
could in all.
positive and the negative of the electrical current, no, anyway. But yeah, and I mean if you just look around all of the things around us, because like I said, it's easy from a nature perspective, right? But even, inanimate objects or other things. I mean, if you get up and look at yourself in the mirror, do you
Mm,
realize what a miracle the human body is?
yeah.
All of the things that it is doing, right? That you don't aren't even consciously aware of. I mean, you held up your phone is this amazing thing too. Well, you don't have to even leave our body, right? Our body is way more higher technology, way cooler, much more of a miracle than even our phones are or
Yeah.
computers are, right? And so even just that, it's like, I mean, a miracle that I'm alive and awake
Mhm.
today, and I'm here with my friend Kathy. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. It's a small thing. It's a joy to me,
Mhm.
every time that we're together. And so, I want to celebrate it. I want to have fun with it. I want to
Yeah.
think about it. And I think, again, as I've started placing more awareness on this, we've talked before about kind of, journaling good things that happen,
Mhm.
sort of
Yeah.
thing, like writing 3 things down at the end of the day. I mean, there's another way, for us to kind of document some of these things that are
Mm-hmm.
going on. And I had this. So here's kind of like a simple example from last night. There's some changes in my business that I'm making and trying to figure out, okay, do I get rid of this service? Do I start this other one? And some of them are operationally related to the business. So depending on the decision I make,
Right.
it can affect a bigger part of the business than just the decision I'm making. And so yesterday had a great day, recorded some podcasts, did some great work, got some inspiration on some new things that I needed to do, that I started working on a new project. And then, last night, kind of came into hey, there is this one service that I've been subscribing to that I really don't use that much, and the cost of it, why don't I just go ahead and get rid of that and free up some capital for other investment?
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was later at night. I was starting to get a little, well, I was hungry. I hadn't eaten dinner yet. I was getting a little bit tired because I had a good day, but I'm starting to get tired. And so I get on and I start going through the process, and then I'm trying to cancel this thing, and I keep getting sent to all these different are you sure you want to do this? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you do this, then you're going to lose this, and you're going to lose that, and you're going to, and I end up going through like this 20-step process, it seemed like,
Jeez.
right? And at the end of the day, before I ended up hitting the final cancel, I'm like, screw it, right? And I was frustrated. I was a little, blah. Now, I could have just sat in that,
Mm-hmm.
but I chose not to, right? I got
Yep.
up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to let it go. It's not really that big a deal. I'm going to focus on the good things that I did during the day. What are the good things that have happened? I'm not going to let this one little thing spoil my evening,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I got up, made some dinner, watched some TV, just tried to be again in that present space of not thinking about that other thing because it doesn't matter,
Mm-hmm.
but just trying to center myself and focus on those small miracles and joys that happen during the day, and then go to bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that frustration was a small thing too,
Right.
right? So I want to replace that small frustration with a small something else to offset it. And
Yeah.
if I could add two or three to it, even the better, right?
Yeah.
And so now I've made my decision. I don't have to think about that anymore. I've made my decision now. It's done. Right now I can just move forward.
Yeah. And what's so great about it, and I love that you brought up the journaling or writing things down, because let's say that you went through that frustration and you couldn't let it go. It was neat, it was niggling at you. It's one of those things, oh, it was so stupid. I can't believe it was. Open your gratitude journal and go, oh, spent 5 minutes playing with Zippy. Oh, talk to my grandkids. Oh, like whatever it is, it pulls you back into the grateful state. It
Yeah.
pulls you back into that positivity. Because once we get into that frustration, and I've had a lot of frustrations lately regarding the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes it's hard to get out of that because every time I open an email, more is coming. Every time I get on the phone, more is coming. And it's like it's sometimes really hard to get out of that scared, frustrated, angry, those negative emotions. And I found that just sitting in that stillness and looking at Zippy or talking to Eric or playing with the cat or going back through and looking at the positive things that are happening. Sometimes it's work, sometimes it's hard to do, but having the resources around allows you to get out of that rut, that wagon wheel rut of negativity, and pulls you into something else. Because our brain's wired for negativity. It really is. It's constantly scanning the environment for things that are dangerous, wrong, negative, stressful. It's trying to protect us. And so if we can get out of that and start to shift our focus, we're actually starting to rewire our brain for positivity. So noticing the squirrel, the birds, and I have to admit something. When you said cardinals, I was like, oh my God, they have Cardinals in Arizona. And then I went, yeah, the Arizona Cardinals, the team. And I went, oh yeah. So that conversation went through my head for a
Yeah.
second. Because I think of Cardinals as back east. Like I grew up in Pittsburgh and we had
Well,
Cardinals.
they look a little bit different out here because they have to blend in more, so they're not
Mm,
quite as bright red.
mm,
Um, but yeah, and it was the same thing. I was surprised when I first moved here too, and I saw them. But yeah,
Yeah, why would they name the
they're here.
team that if they don't exist there? I mean, that would be kind of stupid. The California polar bears. That's probably not right, but yeah. So
Well,
anyway,
but interesting. But do you know why there's a bear on the California state flag? Because Big Bear in Southern California was the grizzly bear capital of the
yeah,
U.S. until they ended up killing them all. But
right.
yeah, so
But then we
not
don't have
polar
polar
but
bears.
grizzly bears.
Oh, we have tell you the California brown bear. We got bears everywhere.
We got bears everywhere.
But yeah,
we got Yogi Bear. Yogi Bear.
Sure.
Anyway.
Yes, we do.
All right.
Picnics, baskets. So shifting into that positive and noticing the beautiful things actually starts to change your brain chemistry, and it's neuroplasticity, right? It helps to rewire our brain to look at positive things and not negative things. So go look at, positive things, notice the perfection, notice those little miracles, allow space for that in your life, even if it's just a couple seconds.
Yep. Yeah, because the more that you do, the more you'll start to notice. And again, just changing that awareness and choosing to see things different, you'll start to see things different as well.
So. Yeah, totally. Cool. All right. I am Kathy Groover. I can be reached at kathygruver.coach.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So go out, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fire and Earth Podcast. See ya.
See ya.